Okay, it's that time. As much as we want to look forward to the weekend, it really best serves us to look ahead and take a second in the current week to look forward to the next one. By the time Monday rolls around, you're going to be thanking yourself if you do a setup for your week on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, even the weekend. I try not to, but even the weekend, technically, as long as you have this ready for Monday when your feet are hitting the ground of the week, this is going to make you feel so grounded and so prepared. So let's get going. This is Focus and Flow. This is a place for planning and bullet journal inspiration. And I am Catherine. Welcome back. We are going to be setting up our skeleton for the week here. My goal with this video is to reduce some of the intimidation that there can be around weekly spreads and to show that it's very, very easy to bring some of the larger concepts in your journal into a more practical and actionable format. And an important thing to always have in mind is that this is really whatever works for you is going to be the best approach. And for me, I like to do most of my weeks using a time blocking method on an hourly scale, splitting 1 hour vertically across 2 rows in my journal page. So that is just how I like to do it. If you have seen any of my weeklies before, then you're going to recognize this portion of the spread. And this is really just something that I've honed in on over the years, and I don't use it 100% of the time, but I pretty much use it about 90% of the time at least. So it really helps me to stay connected to everything that I meant to do for the week, and it allows me to not only just have a gigantic to-do list, but it gives me room to plot out my actions so that by the end of the week, even if I haven't completed 100% of everything that I've put here, which who can do that? I can almost never do that. But having it plotted out like this gives me a much, much greater chance of actually completing those tasks. Of course, because this is pertaining to a specific period of time, I want to go ahead and title my page. So very simple, very basic. I just want to have the dates. I go on a Monday to Sunday cycle. Again, do what works for you. Sometimes people don't even have a weekly. For me, I use weeklies religiously. I don't use dailies. I do weeklies because it really lets me get everything that I need in one glance, in one page, and with one setup during the course of a week instead of multiple setups. So in addition to having my title there of the dates, Feb 10 to 16, I also create some space for myself for scheduled items. Now, this might be some kind of appointment, or it might be something just particular assigned to a certain day that I want to make sure I remember. And then I'm also going to have some boxes that I'll be setting up here that are going to be devoted to very particular subjects. It might look like a lot, but all of these boxes are going to end up creating the space for me to be able to utilize my week for the best. And it helps me to stay practical with things. So for instance, I'm going to be having a box which is devoted to meal planning. So I will be doing that shortly. I have a box which is devoted to my level 10 life focus point. So you'll see me be able to migrate that over. Now, if I don't have space for that, then I'm probably not going to pay attention to it during the week, right? So this allows me that space to be able to actually use those collections and then also those parts of my monthly spread that I'm having an overarching goal or I'm having some points that I definitely want to hit, even habits. I will even set up this mini habit tracker in here. This is just something I'm doing because currently it's working for me. And if you're interested in using one of these checkpoint sections like I have here, this has really been helping me out quite a lot lately. And what I do is I have these different items noted in shorthand, and next to those I have X amount of little lines, which as I move through the week and I complete one of these, I just put a little X here. It's a way for me to incentivize myself. It's not as I would say, big or formal as a habit tracker, but it's a way for me to stay current and stay on top of these sort of reoccurring tasks that I want to be doing during the week. For example, I have HS 11 p.m. This is nursing speak for getting to bed at 11 p.m. Then I have my language studies. I want to do this 3 times. You can see there's 3 lines there. And then I have some physical fitness items that are recurring, personal care items, etc. So the goal is to have all of these X'd out by the end of the week, and then it'll all start over again. It's kind of one of those Indiana Jones situations, I think, but it really helps me to stay on top of these things. So now that the basics have been set up here, I am able to do a little bit of overview and analysis at the same time. I'm able to take a look at some of my other spreads and determine what I'm going to be pulling over into this week. This usually will begin with any appointments or anything that is sort of set in stone in a way that I might be working around. For me, this week, at least at time of filming, I don't have a whole lot on my calendar as far as appointments or anything like that goes. So I'm just noting some things down like the moon phases, we have Valentine's Day, etc. I also will take note of Valentine's Day on the actual Friday there so that I definitely don't forget that that particular day is the holiday. So now we begin the process of actually sketching out the week, which I will be doing in pencil for now because any of these items that I'm writing, it's entirely possible that they might move or cancel or otherwise change. So all of this is very malleable for me, and as I move through the week, I might be editing it. So I'm putting first some of my sort of more immobile tasks. This is things like meetings. This is work that is associated with due dates. So I'm just placing these in to give myself these periods of time that I know that I'm going to be allotting to these particular tasks. Part of making that weekly plan is to know what are the to-do items that I have for myself. So a lot of times I'm going to get this from my monthly view and I'm going to be pulling it over. So hopefully by this point, it's the second week of the month. So hopefully I will have already accomplished some of these things, right? So I am moving on. I'm now assessing, okay, what is it that I'm going to assign for myself to do this week? This is a really great way to stay on top of things and to let everything have its own place in your schedule so that you're not feeling like you have an avalanche that's hitting you where you have just 20 items to do in a massive to-do list and you don't even know where to start. So this migration process from the monthly to the weekly, you can see it going on in real time here. I am referencing a couple of different pages as well, such as my launch pad. This is a section which I've also labeled as Fly Lady in this week because this idea came from Fly Lady, if you know, you know. And this week, the focus point is the living room. So I'm able to take a look at my launch pad, which is another Fly Lady reference. Thank you, Fly Lady. I've built it out a little bit more and I use it a little differently than she does, but I can credit her with that original concept. So I'm placing these task items for myself that are associated with the area of the living room for me to keep my environment clean. You might say, well, how did you come to the conclusion that the living room is the focus of the week for cleaning? And that is from the section of my Launchpad, which is monthly. So this is obviously a rotating carousel of different tasks and different areas that are going to be focal points for me each and every month. That it's just a friendly reminder to myself that I do want to make sure I schedule in. So I'm saying here in the middle of the month, this is the middle of the month, it's time for me to have a pedicure. It's time for me to set up the next monthly. It's time for me to focus on the living room and the bedroom when it comes to decluttering, cleaning, in any kind of management that needs to be happening that is a little bit more than just day-to-day tidying up. That is what I'm going to be doing for the middle of the month. Okay, now we're going to get even more granular because I'm looking at my weekly section of the Launchpad. These are reoccurring items that I want to generally hit each and every week. So I have split them for myself according to my own personal preference, and I'm migrating those over into the week once again in pencil. These might change the time. I might have a meeting that might come up on my calendar during a certain time, or I might have some more time that I need to dedicate to calls, or there's something special that I need to be doing, but I'm at least placing this somewhere on that day in a section where at least I can take a 15-minute break and attend to that item. These are very small items that really just help me to keep on top of everything. So I'll give you an example. Every Friday morning, I manage my financial accounts. I go through and I look at all my accounts and I write them down. I balance them out and I make sure everything is kosher. I also go through my inbox or my photos generally on a Monday morning. It takes literally 5 minutes of my time to do this. I also have a reoccurring item of doing laundry. This is a bit of a longer task, but it's a background task. So regardless, on Wednesday mornings, I know I'm doing laundry. So I've just put that note in for myself to keep everything going. The ultimate effect of this is excellent, and it's that you end up actually programming yourself so that you already anticipate that a certain day is laundry day, that a certain day is a day for you to check all of your bank accounts, that a certain day is reserved for making sure that you get outside and have a wonderful time. As I'm going through the week and assigning for myself these different items, I'm thinking about, just like I had mentioned earlier, there are certain times or days or sections of the month, especially if you are a woman, that you're going to have more or less energy, or that you might be more likely to benefit somehow from doing something at a certain time or avoiding something at a certain time. So taking the time to think about this ahead really helps to set up a pretty smooth and productive week. And again, it's not something that we need to beat ourselves up about if we don't complete this to absolute perfection. This is the example of my perfect week for this week, right? And if I fall a little bit short and maybe I don't end up doing as many workouts, or maybe I don't end up crossing off all of my to-dos, that's okay. I will be able to migrate that over, or maybe it just wasn't meant to be this week, and that's okay. But at the beginning of the week, I do have those goals to sort of set up for myself and look forward to, and it helps me to stay motivated as I move forward in the week. Okay, it's time to work on that level 10 life, baby. I'm so lucky. This golden week has been reserved for the level of fun and recreation. Lucky me. Maybe I'm not so lucky because I actually scored low on this at the beginning of the month. So I wanted to make sure that I am conscious about my fun, about my enjoyment. This might have to do with creative expression as well. So I get to reference a page that I have earlier in my journal that is talking about what kind of direct actions might improve this level for me. And also I can just kind of spitball and say, okay, I want to make sure that I play a game this week, or something random, something for my own enjoyment. How this ends up working in the weekly setup is that I then go and I actually give myself a little bit of time to devote to some of these items. Now, it doesn't have to be 100% of everything is written down here in a specific little box, but I do, for instance, make sure that I have 2 or 3 sessions that I assess for myself that I can use for writing. Now, this might be a very short session. Again, it's just something that hopefully I'm able to fit in my day at some point. So that is how we take that from a more conceptual thing and put it into a more practical realm. By now, you've gotten the picture that migration is a huge part of the bullet journal system. If you are not familiar already, this is your introduction to that fact. So I'm noting the different items that I have in my various boxes, such as my to-do list, my cleaning, my level 10 life, etc. And I'm actually putting a little notation there, which is sort of a half X on the bullet denoting the task item. And if I put that half X there, it's a signal to myself that I've already scheduled it somewhere or I've migrated it to somewhere, so I don't really have to worry about it. I'm going to see that in the future. So that's how I make this much more functional and practical for myself. Hey, we've landed at the final frontier for the boxes, and that's the meal plan. So I have this handy little list that I keep in a very cute pocket at the front of my book. This way I can utilize it as I move throughout. I thought this was a darling little idea. It's something new that I'm trying, and I do have to credit Joshi Koren for this idea, by the way. And previous to this, I had been actually keeping a very unaesthetic folded up piece of paper in the back pocket of the Leuchtturm, and this is just a cuter way, so I like it. So anyway, this is my master list. What I'm doing is I'm taking a look to see what kind of things that I have in the refrigerator, what things I have on hand, what is seasonal, what I'm in the mood for. All of these things I'm taking into account. So it's very easy for me to, as I move through the week, just take a look and say, okay, now this is going to be taco night, or Sid, this is your night to cook. So that way things are pretty much settled. Instead of looking at each other at 7 p.m. and saying, what do you want to eat for dinner? It's already kind of thought of ahead. And again, this is something that you take into consideration with the groceries that you have on hand. So sometimes this can take a little bit longer. Sometimes it involves looking in the refrigerator to see what you have. It's always a good idea because you're probably going to forget something. So that's how I manage my meals for the week. And I love this method. It's very useful. So the week is up and ready to go. I'm so glad that I have this taken care of ahead of time so I can enjoy my weekend. I can relax knowing that everything that I have on my agenda has a space in time. And I hope that this has given you some inspiration and hopefully has taken away some of the barrier of intimidation that sometimes weekly setups can have. So thank you so much for joining. I would love it if you gave me a subscribe so that you can see the next videos that I bring up, and would love to hear from you as well. So have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time.